Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show Podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM and NTXVarsitySports.com. Live from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. The Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show Podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
Dykes to throw, pressure's on, fires over the middle, intercepted. Linnell Swanson, 29-yard line, 40, 45, outside the numbers, into Birdville territory before he steps out of bounds at about the 47-yard line. Huge interception by the Bearcats defense. They turn over the momentum. They take the ball. They will start in Birdville territory.
And I think they actually gave you guys 5 extra yards on that because I called the 47 and they spotted you at the 42 on that. But anyway, you take it and you go with it. So we welcome you to the Aledo Coaches Show Podcast. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. We also welcome to our new home for this podcast will be the Parker County Brewing Company. Every podcast from this location throughout the 2025-26 school year will be here. Also want to thank our two main sponsors between H5 Sports Barn and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. We always appreciate their support of the podcast and Aledo Athletics. Number one, Aledo is now 4-0 following its 56-7 win on the road at Birdville last Friday. Aledo is now 6-0 lifetime against the Hawks. And by the way, that was the Bearcats' first appearance in the Birdville Fine Arts and Athletics Complex in North Richland Hills since 2015, the state semifinal game against Mansfield Lake Ridge. And they will be back there to play Richland following their bye in about a month. The district's 3-5A season continues this coming Friday. And by the way, with the win over Birdville, the national record district winning streak is now at 129. It is homecoming this Friday against 1-3 Keller Fossil Ridge. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff from Tim Buchanan Stadium. Hank FM starts the coverage at 6:30. The Panthers are also 0-2 in District 3-5A. They dropped their opener to Denton Ryan 2 weeks ago, then had some tough luck in the final 2 minutes in their 27-14 loss to Granbury last Thursday in Keller. Had a couple of turnovers that really bit them. As always, we have 2 segments in this show. We will start with Aledo head coach Robby Jones and review the Birdville game, and then look ahead to Friday. And then in our second segment, we will be joined by senior running back Kaden Winkfeild and junior defensive tackle Tymon Meeks. Okay, sir, a great opening drive to get it started, then a bit of a lull that included their pick 6 to tie it, but it seemed like after their short punt, it kind of flipped. About a 5-yard punt starts at their 25, the positive 25. You take over there, then Brady Powell converts on that 4th and 1 into the touchdown. Overall thoughts from how things kind of, if you will, exploded after that.
Yeah, I mean, very slow start, and we addressed that this week that we can't do that again. We, I don't know if it was, overlooking the opponent. There was very little fire when we came out, to start the game. It almost felt like a JV type game, so we discussed that we can't do that anymore. But yeah, we got some momentum going with that bad punt, and then Lamel set us up with a couple of good field positions with a punt return and then also the interception and all that. So, and then the second half, our guys realized, hey, look, we can't play like that. Let's go play Aledo Bearcat football, and you saw the result in the second half.
For sure, and you all finished that game scoring on your last 7 possessions, with, by the way, starting with Powell's touchdown run, and then that other one right before the end of the first half. And then in a flash, it was just boom to start the second half. You talked about it, Bearcat football, the 73 little swing out to Kaden Finley. He takes it there, and it's about finishing too. It's about playing to a standard. As some coaches like to say, chasing a standard. How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a standard that we've established here at Aledo, and that standard is to go out and, respect every opponent and to play hard, play physical, play fast, all those things. There were times where we looked like we might have been in, running in mud almost, So, we're expecting a better outcome this week.
Okay, 2 things that stood out about your defense to me. First, essentially a shutout and another game of less than 150 yards allowed. And then secondly, the pressure created from the front 4 really going into a second gear. Second straight week where I've seen the opposing quarterback either backpedal, hurry throws, or just flat out flinch. I mean, you knocked out 1 2 weeks ago against Brewer with the Dials, and then, of course, I think Zach Wells was just kind of on the run for most of the night after he hit the big vertical to get it started for them.
Yeah, that's been kind of the case with all the quarterbacks that we've faced so far this year.
Yeah.
They've been very uncomfortable in the pocket. That's a credit to our defensive line. Defensive line getting big-time push, getting pressure on those guys, they're uncomfortable, and they're not making the throws that we normally see them make because of the fact that our defensive line is making them so uncomfortable.
Does this unit remind you of any other group during this phenomenal run here at Aledo? I'm not asking you to compare, but are there any similarities between this group and what you've seen years prior?
I don't know if there's, any similarities. We've had some really good defenses in the past, but, one of the things about this group is it's probably one of the better D-lines that we've had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just seem to enforce their will from the opening snap, and that's a great point you put out, because I think I saw something where, like, the number of hurries that you guys have already issued this year, not sacks, but hurries, somewhere in the 40-plus range or something like that.
Yeah, we're making that quarterback get rid of the ball before he really wants to, or before the play develops, and that's a big thing. You get them to where the play's not developing. They don't have a chance to get open against our secondary because our defensive line is making the quarterback get out of the pocket and do some things that he's not used to doing.
Speaking of the front, we're going to be talking to Tymon Meeks here in just a bit, but in these last 2 weeks, I would venture to say they are arguably the two best weeks I've seen from him, maybe ever, because he's so active, flooding the A-gaps, and, of course, the pressure got a batted pass in one of those games. I've just seen something from him that's a little bit different maybe than – or maybe I'm just overstating it. I don't know.
I mean, it's what I see out of him just about every week.
Right.
So it's just I think he's showing up in the backfield a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Some of that could be credited to the fact that we're changing some things up from time to time. He probably likes getting in the bear front. You can ask him about that.
Right.
But they had a run play last week. We jumped in the bear front and they pulled the guard. And because it was a little bit different front than what they're used to seeing the Aledo Bearcats line up in, they didn't have anybody block him, and that shoots him back into the backfield, making a play for a tackle for a loss. So, doing a great job.
You get Max Foreman back there at defensive end, missed a couple weeks with that little bit of that knee issue. Seemed to be moving pretty well. What was the assessment the day after? Because it's always going to be how does it respond after putting so much pressure on it during a game.
He's still not 100%, but he's good enough to get out there and give us some quality reps, and he'll probably get more this week because the more and more he gets with it, the better that knee's going to be.
Okay, I was asking you in the pregame show interview about safety Cameron Hall and his growth, and right on cue, he causes a fumble during that whole barrage in the third quarter. He just looks like he's playing with so much confidence.
Yeah, I mean, he is, and that's the fact that he's more comfortable back there. I think we talked about that last week. It's his fourth year to play this position in our defense. It was at the freshman level, the JV level, then last year varsity level. And so, so he's comfortable in that position. The only problem he had last week was he didn't have his contacts.
Oh.
So, he might have had one of those interceptions if he had been able to see the football, so that was a problem. We got to make sure the boy has his contacts to make sure that he's making the plays that he should be.
Maybe that's the reason why we've had some dropped interceptions, or we'll blame it on contacts, even if the kids aren't wearing them.
He didn't have his contacts in.
Gotcha. Okay, now it all adds up. Okay, so speaking of that, I know the turnover ratio has not been where you've wanted it to be so far this year. But discuss the importance of at least winning the turnover battle the other night for what I believe was the first time this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be big when you get into the big-time games. We saw that in our loss last year was we turned the ball over. We turned the ball over 3 times, I believe, in the second half, if not more. I remember 2 interceptions and a fumble. But, when you're taking care of the football in big-time games, it's going to help you out.
You and I talked also on the pregame show about the physicalness that this team has played with all year. It's been kind of like the most consistent trait. And I think what I want you to do is, just for people who don't know what that means, how do you measure that and getting a team to play that way week in and week out?
Yeah, I mean it's just something they are born with. Matter of fact, that dog will hunt or it won't, and our guys do. They go out and they're going to try to be the most physical football team on the field each and every week. And we preach that, we expect that, and there are times where we got to back them off a little bit in practice because they're being a little too physical with our scout team guys, So, we try to, keep that leash on them until Friday night and then let them loose.
The one thing that I've always heard from opposing coaches or fans from opposing teams is that they just see your kids play so hard at a level that they haven't seen from other teams that they've played against. And that's That's a culture thing, though, I would have to
Yeah,
think.
I mean, that's built in, with, the Aledo culture is, we're going to play hard. And that's something that's always mentioned by, the opposing coaches is, man, y'all's kids just play so hard, and that's, you take pride in that. You enjoy that, and you say, hey, look, guys, the opposing coach is talking about that. So we got to keep that going.
Okay. Back to the offense, kind of a weekly heat check on the quarterback situation. Obviously, Nash McElry getting more of the snaps at center. What did you think of him last week? And we'll talk about the pick here in a moment. But
yeah, I mean, we're slowly progressing. I think Nash didn't have as good a game throwing as he did the week before, but we're going to work on that. We're going to get that better. We got some receiver injuries where we might be missing one of our receivers. So, if we're missing Bain this week, which is a possibility, you might see Lincoln more out at receiver, because we want to get our best group out there on the field. And Lincoln is one of our better receivers when he's not a quarterback.
yeah, I was going to say his versatility, though, with Lincoln, you could put him anywhere, and you would put him in that slot position more or less.
Yeah.
And by the way, talking about more or less the way you guys have been, and we talked about this after the Brewer game, was the pitch pass is back, and it seems to be something that you guys seem to be running a lot more because for whatever reason, but it just seems to be a play that you guys have really embraced really over the last 2 years.
Yeah, the little jet sweep that Coach Williams likes doing. We didn't do it as much. When I was offensive coordinator, I wasn't a big motion guy. We would try to get guys like Ryan Newsom the ball on that play,
right,
and some other guys. But it's just one of the things. I didn't feel comfortable with a lot of motion because when you give a lot of motion, sometimes you get that defensive line moving around, the linebackers moving around, and it messes with our offensive line calls. They've already got their call made, and now they're having to, switch it, in the middle of, with the motion.
Right.
But Coach Williams likes to, try to set people up with motion and do some different things. So it's just basically the offensive coordinator's what he feels like the best with.
And they like to call that eye candy, too, to kind of make defenses think more than make them think that there are a lot of things going on when it's really something simple that could be coming right at them.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening.
Okay, so getting back to Nash, we can all harp about the pick six, and it's there, but I kind of look at your quarterbacks the same as I do as corners. They kind of have to have a short memory. And the one thing that I liked about what Nash did is the fact that he responded. He throws a great ball to Bain right at the end of the first half, about a 37-yarder. And so where do you think he is, because we've just talked about him here, but where do you think he is in the growth-wise from Geyer to where he is now?
Yeah, I mean, you see leaps and bounds, with the fact that we are, able to throw the ball a lot more.
Right.
So, he's made big strides, so has Lincoln. Now, they're still not perfect. That's what we strive for. We strive for perfection. So you're going to see Coach Williams getting on them in the middle of the game because they may have missed a read. They may have messed a play up in the huddles, something like that. So, we're striving for perfection. You don't always attain that, but you try to go get it.
Yeah. Running game over 300 yards last week. Caden's development kind of being the lead back here. What have you seen from him?
I mean, Caden's doing what we expected him to do. He needs to go be the top dog in the room and go make plays when he has his chance. And he's been able to do that. He had the early fumbles in the first couple of games, and we've gotten that taken care of. And hopefully we continue with that, and we just see, bigger and bigger games from him as the year goes on.
And one thing, too, I wanted to bring up, does a run like the 98-yarder that Rudy Moya had, which has to be a school record unless somebody's gone 99 and we don't know about it, but even though it was in mop-up time, but does that earn him more burn, or what do you think that does for him? And for you're using him maybe earlier in games than what you had maybe anticipated coming into the season?
Well, you got to take into consideration it's late in the game. Their defense is tired. You got to take into all those things into consideration. We've got 4 capable backs. But there is a hierarchy, and the top dogs are going to get the majority of the carries, especially in big time games.
Sure. And then Jeremiah getting a couple more carries got a couple scores. Yep. I think that's probably a really good thing for him. You're just starting to see him get more and more confident, just getting his legs under him and moving and cutting and that sort of thing.
You're seeing it out of all 4 of our backs. So I got no problem with any of them being on the field. But when it's big time, game, you're going to see the number 1 guy more than you see the others.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's take a look at Fossil Ridge for homecoming. The Panthers are under the direction of Derek Ramsey. They've had it pretty rough so far. What are the challenges your team has to kind of at least be aware of with this group.
Yeah, I mean, those guys, they're good coaches over there. I've known Derek Ramsey for a long time. My brother coached with him out in Odessa back in the mid to late 90s. And he was a defensive coordinator at Geyer when Geyer won a couple of state championships. And we played him a lot while he was at Geyer, so I know him. He's running the same defense. We kind of know a little bit about what they do, which is going to give us a little bit of advantage, I think, because we have played against his defense so much. So that's going to help us in this game. And then, they've got some guys out there that are some good skill guys. Their two outside receivers are pretty good, but in the same quarterback that they had last year.
Right.
But we need to worry about the Aledo Bearcats and make sure that we're getting better this week.
For sure. Speaking of their skill guys, their quarterback Malachi, Lockhart, has done some good things, and I think he missed part of last year's game against you guys over in Keller with an injury, but he is pretty elusive. He's also their punter too, by the way, and so some of the challenges that he proposes to you all.
I mean, he can make plays with his legs, besides the fact that he can throw the football, make plays with his legs. That was one of the things that they threw at us last year that they hadn't been doing as much of was some quarterback run game. So they had some new little wrinkles. They're going to have new little wrinkles. We're going to have to adjust those and then go out and, our defensive front's going to have to take care of the business.
For sure. And you mentioned just a few moments ago about their defense and how they like to get after the quarterback. I think they already have about 13 sacks, 14 QB pressures. So is it just mainly their front, or are they blitzing a lot, so are they making guys get off their marks, or what are you seeing there?
Mainly when they're getting all that pressure on the quarterback, they're bringing one of the linebackers. I can't remember his name, but number 7, their outside backer, is the guy that is getting most of those pressures. And he's a returning starter from last year. And now everybody changes their numbers.
Yes.
When the seniors graduate and those single digits come available, those guys that were starters last year, now they're in the single digits. So, I can't remember what his number was last year, 31 or something like that. And now he's number 7.
It was funny because I was starting to work on their spotter boards before we did this podcast tonight, and I'm looking, I'm like, wait a second, he wore this number last year, and the only one who kept his number was Lockhart, the quarterback. And so, but finally for homecoming, first of all, how was the parade on Monday? And do you have to do anything different with your daily schedule with team functions or events or things like that? Or how does this week play out than just your normal game preparation week?
We have to cut short a little bit our special teams that we work on Monday. We've kind of changed up our normal routine on Mondays. We start off with a film session with the kids in the morning. So it shortens practice. So we don't do any special teams in the morning practice, which means Monday afternoon is a big special teams period for us. So we had to shorten the special teams a little bit to get the kids ready to go out and get on the trailers. Everybody else had the big decorated floats. We have a big trailer with hay on it, and the kids sit on the hay, and so the decoration is the football team.
Exactly.
That's, to me, that's the main attraction of the entire parade. We're there, for the football team. I know all the other teams are there, but I'm kind of self-centered, and people are there to see my guys, and I want to make sure that they're there and they're having a good time. The kids it's crazy. They changed the route this year, where last year we were weaving in the school drives in front of the school. This year they put us out on Bailey Ranch Road, and then we turned down by the ag shop on, I think they call it Wood Drive now, and then back to the stadium. So there was more room. That wasn't as tight, but still those little kids, they don't stay back on the grass like they're supposed to. They're coming out on the street to try and get the candy. So, we had coaches that were stationed by the tires of the trailers. And there were times where we had to grab a kid and pull the kid away from the tires. It's fun, but it's kind of stressful for the coaches.
Sure.
Because, you don't want to see one of those little kids get underneath that trailer.
No, that would be very dangerous. And then one last thing. I know it had been a tradition for some time to have the dance the Saturday before homecoming week. So is that still a tradition, or is that now back to normal where it's the Saturday after the game?
It's Saturday after the game. So Saturday night, and my big complaint with that was, hey, we got a big game the next week. I don't really like having the dance on Saturday night because we've got one of the biggest games, in the state of Texas, following up that homecoming dance.
Yeah, I kind of remember that might be Denton Ryan, and so, I kind of get that. All right, Coach. Well, listen, thank you very much. Congratulations on the win last week over Birdville, and we'll look forward to seeing you all this coming Friday against Fossil Ridge. All right, and don't forget the pregame show on Hank FM starts at 6:30 with the kickoff at 7 o'clock with yours truly, Kyle Hicks, Mercedes Meyer, and the Deacon. And we want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30. Exit Las Vegas Trail and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for over 30 years. Stick around. Second segment of the podcast comes up next. We will be joined by Tymon Meeks and Kaden Winkfeild. You're listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. Back after this timeout.
Blitz look by Birdville. It is going to be a give over the left side. Room to run. Kaden Winkfeild into the open field, and they're not going to get him. 10-5. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats.
That covered 56 yards for my guest who's sitting off to my left here, and we'll get to him in just a few moments. We welcome you back to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. And just before we visit with our players, we have these two Aledo notables for you, guys that are playing college football. We'll start off with wide receiver B.J. Fleming, who is at the University of North Dakota, FCS level ball for him. He's having a huge year. So far, 12 catches, 224 yards, and a touchdown. That was an 82-yarder that he caught against the University of Montana. He is the Hawks' leading receiver at this point, and North Dakota is 2-2. And then you might remember safety Boogie Owens. He is at Fordham University in New York City. He's been an immediate contributor for the Rams. 37 tackles and 2 picks in 2024. That's what he did in his career at Aledo, coming up with picks, fumble recoveries, that sort of thing. For this year, he's up to 18 tackles through the first 4 games. But it has been a tough year for Fordham. The Rams are off to an 0-4 start. Okay, happy to be joined now by senior running back to my immediate left, Kaden Winkfeild, and junior defensive tackle, Tymon Meeks. Guys, thanks for being with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's talk about the season so far overall, 4-0, 2-0 in District 3-5A. I'll start off with you, Tymon, about what you feel like are things that have been going well so far and things that you feel like you need to be leaning into to try to improve.
Just as a team, more team chemistry and bonding with the team. What I think is going well so far is our play on the field. As far as defense, offense is playing well, but mainly defense because we only allowed 21 points in about 4 games on defense. So that's what I think.
Okay, and then what about for you, Kaden? What are you seeing right now? Good and things that need to kind of get better as the season goes forward.
For the offense, I do feel like the chemistry needs to be way better. We all need to stay on point. Communication needs to be higher up. I say defense is doing a great job, not letting up a lot of points during the season. And I feel like the more chemistry we have, the better we will progress each week.
You know, every game will write its own story. And I'm sure it was a little frustrating for a while against Birdville. 7-7 after the first quarter. Then it kind of dragged its way into the second quarter. But what part of the game do you think got you all going? Coach and I were just talking about their short punt. You guys were able to capitalize on Brady's touchdown from the 4, and then you guys took off after that. If it wasn't that, where do you think it was before? And I'll ask for your thoughts on this too, Tymon, about that game. But go ahead first, Kaden.
I do agree. Brady's touchdown definitely set the tone. Like you said, the offense is running very slow at this point in time. We did look slow, but after Brady got that touchdown, I feel like that's where we all started to get our momentum back, and we all realized that we had to lock in.
Tymon, do you agree, or do you think there was something else for you guys? Because obviously your defense influenced that short punt. So
Yeah, I agree with that too, but I also think it was the defense that helped mainly with that, with them allowing us to, you know what I'm saying, trust us and just be the best that we can be on defense because we know we got a good defense all the time.
Yeah, I'd say they're pretty good right now. And so, Kaden, look, okay, so in sports, it's all about adversity. You've had a couple things that you had to deal with this year with a couple of fumbles. But I think one of the things is how you process and how you meet that and move forward from it and be better for it instead of letting it eat at you. And it seemed like if you think about maybe the first play of the season against Geyer, but then the way that you led that drive last week in the opening series against Birdville, those are things of just taking that and learning from that and getting better from it and responding from it. How do you see that from where you were at Geyer to where you are now, and what kind of a player you are for that?
I do feel like I have progressed a little bit. With me being a starter, I do agree that the adversity started to kick in after that first fumble. I just had to sit down, talk to myself, slow the game down in my mind. But each week I do progress, and I feel like there should be no more fumbles this season. That's
and I'm sure everyone would love for that too to happen. And so,
yes, sir.
but it's also too. It's not like you're wanting to do it. You just have to keep working on it and understand
Right.
how it happens. And the film can show you. I mean, I'm watching a couple of NFL games over the weekend where they're basically showing where defensive backs are coming from behind with the big strike swat to kind of knock it out of a. We saw it Monday night's football game against with Baltimore and Derrick Henry, one of the great backs. I mean, they all go through it. Everybody goes through that. So now it's like, how do you learn from that? I want to turn to you about just, again, talking about the opening drive against Birdville. You have all 4 carries for 77 yards, including the last 56. Take us through the touchdown run.
So through the touchdown run, we preached all week how to stay on point with the QB. He reads the blitzes, and we ask him, do we want us to pick it up? Do we want us to go faster with our handoff, with our mesh? So I trust Nash. I trust all my quarterbacks, Nash, Lincoln, all of them. So when Nash is telling me that he's handing it off, I'm going to trust him, and I'm going to do what I do with it.
Okay, what did you see there on the hole that opened up so that you could break into the open field?
So I seen there was a blitz. We preached this all week that they're going to blitz to one side of the field where the RBs is. So I had to take advantage of that. Since they blitzed on my side, I had to hit the hole and take it to the house.
All right, so I also want to ask you, too, because you've scored a couple touchdowns out of the Wildcat, in fact, actually, in this past game. So for you, just working out of it, what's the key in making sure that, because your cadence is going to be different from Nash or it's going to be different from Lincoln. So what's going to be important when you're executing that play, whether if it's at a goal-to-goal situation or maybe a short yardage situation somewhere in the middle of the field?
So, yes, our cadence is different. I do read the line differently, but it's all thanks to my lineman, Chase, and Cutter, who I follow behind. That's really just like a get-it-and-go play. There's no reading it. There's no cutting. It's just straight downhill, getting as much as I could get.
Yeah, I think I think you got an escort from Cutter on the the touchdown run in
Yes,
the end.
sir.
I think you walked in untouched on that. Okay, Tymon, you heard me talk to Coach Jones about you the last 2 weeks. It could be me seeing like how you've elevated things, but has something clicked for you, or is it the same, but we're just noticing you more in the backfield, or what do you think is going on with your game right now?
I would say a lot of different stunts. They got me a lot of different plays, a lot of different fronts that it can work and, work in space and not be taken on a double team a lot of times. Really my training in the off season, like knowing this got to be the money year, I got to do everything I got to do to get more offers.
What was important in terms of your training? What did you focus on? Obviously, strength for one, but technique has to be a part of that too. So what did you work on?
I focused on mainly with my D-line trainer, and I focused on speed training a lot, and a lot of more run defense because I know I got it in the past, but I'm just focused on more run defense and learning how to turn my body and stuff. So.
All right. And we talked a lot about this pass rush, as you heard Coach talk about that a few moments ago, but the fact that you were not giving any of these first 4 quarterbacks any time, and it doesn't matter if it's Zephyr Cry at Denton Geyer, Joseph Hairston at Lancaster, Colton Riles at Brewer, Zach Wells at Birdville. Is it physical? Is it something else? Or what are you seeing this? Because Coach was talking about maybe the better defensive lines that have ever come through Aledo.
It starts off with getting the edge, watching film, and knowing the way they body leaning and determining if it's going to be a run, a pass, a pull, something. So that's where it comes from.
Film work.
Yes.
Is there things that, without giving any secrets, because you've got another game this week, of course, right? But are there keys that you guys are picking up on that's allowing you all to get that quick advantage on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, figured as much. Okay, so let's switch a little bit here about recruiting. Okay, Kaden, we'll start with you. You have some G5 interest: UTEP, Arkansas State, Texas State, Sam Houston State, and then, of course, Tymon with you. You have offers from Colorado, Miami, UT San Antonio. I'm going to ask both of you where you're at. I'll start with you on this, Kaden, in terms of just schools that you're looking at, decision time frame, things of that nature, where you're at right now.
So at all the schools I've only been to 3 so far: Arkansas State, Sam Houston, and Howard.
Which is up in Washington, for those who don't know, Howard
Yes, sir.
University. Go ahead.
Those are all great schools. I love all the coaches. I love the players, the people being around there. All of it is nice. Those are my top 3 as of right now. I'm leaning towards one school. I won't say just now, but I will announce it soon.
All right.
But commitment-wise, I say it's going to be very soon.
Okay, gotcha on that. And then, Tymon, for you, obviously we mentioned a couple of those P5 offers with Colorado and Miami. You said before we were recording this that you went to a couple of schools in the spring and also in the summer. You got another year ahead of you on this stuff, but what's the important things that you're evaluating about your recruiting right now?
Which school I can play earliest at, which school is going to develop me while I'm playing. Every school right now is pretty much wide open. I haven't made any narrowed down any decisions yet. I'm gonna make my decision probably next summer.
Okay, got you on that. This process, for you, you're a little bit earlier into it, although you started getting some looks your sophomore year. Is it chaotic? Is it been, I need to find a way to manage this part while I'm trying to play a football season or just go through a football season? What's it been like for you just trying to deal with this emotionally?
It hasn't really been too much because I had role models that was older than me that talked to me and sat me down and say, here, this is what it's going to look like. You got to do this. You got to put this first. You know what I'm saying? Because coach is going to be coming at you all the time, every day. That's their job. You know what I'm saying? Your job is to, you know what I'm saying, kind of manage that and not get too overwhelmed with what they bringing at you.
All right. And then, Kaden, for you, obviously, you saw obviously what Ray Guillory went through last year with his decision. What was kind of the important things that you learned from his experience about that, and then just going through the process yourself where you got a lot of offers in the spring and the summer, and then it's a matter of trying to figure out what do you value, that sort of thing. You already mentioned the top 3, but just kind of siphoning through all that stuff.
So after spending some time with Ray, me and him used to spend a lot together. We always used to talk about it. I did learn a lot from him, and also shout out to my trainer, Coach Jonathan Gray. I do learn from him too.
And he's a good one to learn from. So.
Yes, sir. He helped me out through this recruiting process too. But after talking to both of them, they both tell me take my time, choose somewhere where I feel like I'll be like happy or like what's best for me. So after being around them, listening to Ray and Jonathan Gray on where I need to go, it's been very helpful.
For sure. Okay, so let's talk about this week's game, homecoming against Fossil Ridge. And I know that a lot of people will say, well, this should be easy. You've got Denton Ryan the following week. They're up there in Denton. But the idea is to keep the main thing, and that's this week against Fossil Ridge. Tymon, I'll start with you. What's going to be important about this team getting locked in and making sure that you don't look to that first Friday in October, that you look to this coming Friday?
The main thing is sometimes we might get a little arrogant, so, you know, just locking in on a team that's right there ahead of us. Sometimes we might look at bigger games because we think, oh, we blow past them, we got it. But the main thing is just staying focused on the week at hand, the task at hand that we got. And
then for you, Kaden, how do you see that?
I agree with Tymon. We can't let our heads get too big. We have to focus on 1 week at a time, and we can't take no opponent lightly.
Okay, and this schedule, as you heard Coach talk about the fact that a little bit different than other weeks of preparation. So what adjustments do you have to make with your individual schedule between class and what the football team is asking of you? Anything major, anything drastically different as far as that you're looking at, Kaden?
Not as drastic, no, sir. But we do have to get practice going more.
Okay, and then anything for you, Tymon, that you see
No,
different?
sir. It's not drastic.
All right, and everyone stayed okay on the float. Nobody fell off or anything like that. We're okay
No,
there.
no, sir.
Okay.
No,
All right,
sir.
got it. All right, that's good to know. Okay, so to my immediate left is senior running back Kaden Winkfeild, and to my far left is junior defensive tackle Tymon Meeks. Folks, let's give these 2 young men a nice round of applause. And we want to remind you that this Aledo Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Knife Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training. H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda.